This is your brain on anxiety, or at least for me. This is what I would deal with when it comes to thoughts. Now, wait a minute. Before you go and click off, give me just a few moments of your time to explain it in the eyes of a person with generalized anxiety. Hey there, ho there, hi there, how are you doing? I am off on Mondays, and this is C La V Views by C. And like I always say, I normally would do a review on a video, but I'm stepping aside from that for just a bit to really focus on my um, generalized anxiety disorder. To the queen. So have been, if you haven't known, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety. Um, I've had it now for about, I want to say the majority of my life. I can't think of it when I was a child, if I had it as a child. Um, However, what is that? That's something that's bothering me. Give me a moment. Okay, that's a little bit better. I tried to put a lens over it, but it wasn't working. And yeah, so that happened. Anyway, so I have been, if you haven't known, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. However, I've had anxiety for so long, I can't even remember. But the thing with me though is that at least with anxiety or racing thoughts, if you've had this for a while, you've come to consider it as your own and you start to think and believe, hey, that's how it's supposed to be. Well, I have been on venlafaxine, I believe it is, or Exfoxior, whatever, for about 3 weeks now. Monday will be my third week. I take it at night, and I was saying like maybe this is like my seventh, so this is like my second week or 10th, ninth, or something like that, or whatever. I lost count. Um, Generally, I would write in my diary and document it. I have lost that mainly because I really haven't had anything to write about. And I do try to upload on my YouTube to get things crack-a-lacking. Yes, I am in my bonnet, okay? I just did my face, and I also did my hair because I'm going with the natural if you've seen me before. So it is a doozy. I can tell you that for my women that are going natural, and we not finna get in 5C, 2C, whatever C you want to be. Women that are going natural that have the kinky curly, we just gonna say that it's kinky curly and then it's straight. And let me just put it out there. It don't matter if you have kinky curly or straight hair. Hair is hair. Okay, believe me, when we die, it's going to not even be there. It's not even gonna care. Nobody gonna give a care anymore. But I said that to say that it is the natural hair is it's a struggle. It is, but it's a wonderful struggle. It's a beautiful struggle. It's a beautiful journey. And I've said this. If you follow me on TikTok, I had a saying that just came into my head that says, um, either it is or it isn't. Um, I gotta go back and find out what I had put. Ain't that something? But I put um, coming to know the fact that either it is or it isn't is the first part of your journey, is or part of is part of life's journey, basically. And what I mean by that is when you come to the fact of knowledge, of an understanding and knowing that either it is what it is or it ain't what it ain't, or isn't what it isn't, or is it not what it is. Yeah, that that is what's going to happen and what's going to be. Either you're going to accept it or you're not going to accept it. And the reason why I say it like that is because at the end of the day, you have control over what you want to say, think, or do, regardless on what it is, because you are a human being and you have rights as a human being. And with all that being said, when it comes to mental health, which to me I say mental health is mental wealth, and that as you always know, as I say at the end of my my end of my channel is that opinions are free, but you pay attention for advice, and that's with the S or the C, depending on how you want to take it. But yeah, that's true. Everybody's going to have something to say, and you can take it as you want to. You can allow a person to tell you what it is that you want to. But when it's something that is life changing, meaning it's going to change your life for the greater good or stop you from changing your life to the greater bad, it is best to pay attention to it, which is why I wanted to focus my attention on mental health, especially in the, I really don't like that word, especially in the people of color community. Let's go with that. So, what I mean by that is it's not really spoken amongst us. And I may joke around a lot when I say that when you think of therapy, most of the time, I'm looking at my watch because I had took my medication at 8:55. I was a little late, and I'm just babble talking now, but a little I took it a little late, but I noticed too that from what people tell me or from what I've seen, heard, is that there's things called these zaps. Now I do my own figuring out and stuff like that. However, I what I want to say, I always say that you don't go by what anybody else say. You take your advice that's given to you, research it, fact find it, and then you can decide if that person gave you an opinion or if they gave you a fact. So anywho, yeah, I took my pill at 8:55. Normally around this time is when I'm in the bed. However, I think I had some tea, which I'm drinking right now, which I told myself I would not do because I cannot have caffeine after a certain time or I would not go to sleep. Yeah. So I was saying all that to say that when we think of therapy, we think of, some old white guy with a beard telling us, hey, yeah, you're going to have psychotherapy. And that's really not true. Um, it's I really would like to tell people that if you are struggling with any type of mental disorder, that you should seek help. You should always reach out. And I know that sometimes it's hard to speak to family members because some family members may we may know in our families may know that there is, or they may not know that there are some disorders in the family. And you might notice that uncle or that cousin, or that auntie, or that the one that they always keep in the back room, or always something is wrong with them, and they don't never tell you what's going on about it or what happened. Sometimes trigger warning, it can be dealt because of incest in the family, and we might as well speak of that while we are here. I hope I don't get blocked off for saying so. It's just something that needs to be said and understood. Some people have never experienced trauma as much as that, and but it does form a trauma bond, especially if there has been in the family that you don't talk about, and it stays hidden. And back in the day, they would ship you off to down south, and you be gone for a while, and you come back, and life just begins as normal. But it's just a lot of these things is really dear to me because I believe that the way how society puts it is We see people living these lives that are happy and abundant, but we don't see what's going on behind closed doors. And what I mean by behind closed doors, I'm not meaning their secret lives, regardless if they're rich or famous, but how they actually are, the pressures and the stigmatism that they get from being either in the public eye or being that quiet, shy person that nobody knows. And you um, tend to build up all this pressure and start to develop this syndrome. I like to call it a syndrome where, nobody wants me, nobody wants to be around me. For me, I can mainly say that I used to always consider myself to be the black sheep of the family, and I would always consider myself to be just one and few. There was things that I wanted to do, and I would always voice my opinion for it. And I've always been known to be very vocal. However, I think I was just a little bit too vocal. And then at times, people would just mainly tell me to, shut your mouth, quiet yourself, because you really don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, it's like you're a child, especially when you're a child. You explore and you ask questions, and growing up in some families, we're gonna do it like that. In some families, you were taught, children are meant to be seen and not heard. That you don't ask questions, and the majority of the time that is true. There are times when a child needs to stay in a child's place, especially when adults are speaking of having the conversation that is an adult conversation, meaning that it does not include the child. But however, if they're not, but however, I learned however, there are some questions that should be addressed and should be spoken to at a level that a child should be able to understand. Well, I'm saying all this because it starts to develop in that child where, okay, I can't speak up for myself. I can't say anything for myself. And I'm not only speaking about children. I'm just speaking in general, where we would bring that into our adult childhood, our adulthood, where we would start to develop this. Okay, I don't want to say that, because then there we go, that trauma bond, where the last time I spoke up and I said something, I got ridiculed for it. And the majority of the time, it may be a question that deserves a valid answer. It may be a question that needs an answer or reasoning to. It may be a question that, is something that's drawn to attention, that the person who has to answer it may have to open up some doors or some closets that they may have had in the past, and they just don't want it. Don't want it. And it reminds me of what is that? What you call when people talk? Interview I seen with Jay Z, and he was speaking about his daughter, and the main thing that he said that I got from out all of it was that he had said something, and his daughter had he had kind of snapped at his daughter, which is perfectly fine, because we're human beings, and just because he's Jay Z doesn't mean he doesn't snap at his child, because we all, I don't have any children myself, but we are human beings, is what I'm saying. And he did not mean to do it purposely. What happened was he realized it because his daughter had said to him, what you said or what you done had really, hurt me, and it wasn't nice. I'm paraphrasing here, okay? And that kind of made Jay-Z open up and aware of himself, and he had to think back, and he said, man, that was right. And all in all, what he was saying was that basically what you got going on ain't got nothing to do with what that child got going on. You wrap up in that moment at that time. And so when the child or someone else asks a question, you get easily agitated. Okay, I'm building up something here, and let me take another to the queen. And so you basically have this unction to just jab off. And that's what or what happens in families at times, is that children are meant to be seen and not heard. And it was good that he apologized to his daughter, and he, said that he'll watch himself, and he was mindful of it the next time something happened. I don't know, but this is what he was saying. And all in all, that is a good way to bring to attention what it is that we're saying and what it is that we're doing to our children. Being said that being said, that's where anxiety comes in, because it all goes back to a foundation of where you were in a situation, at least for me, where I was in a situation where I grew up in the childhood where it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was times. And I was just always asking questions. I was always a child that asked questions. Why this? Why that? I was very interested in learning and knowing things. I still am now. And that's because I want to know myself. I want to find out. You tell me about it, I'm going to find out more. And so I would ask questions, and then it got down to the line where it was like somewhere down the line, I believe a friend or a family member had said something that sticks with me. And when that stuck with me as a child, I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask that question anymore, because I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like that feeling. So there it goes, okay? Now I don't like how I'm being felt, so I'm not going to ask that. So I suppressed that thought and I suppressed that feeling. And so now, growing up, the more and more I ask something, whenever something happens, hey, I don't like how that felt. But lo and behold, it starts to agitate, and now I'm frustrated, and I'm irritable, okay? Now anger sets in. But what does that anger come from? That anger comes from an undesired thing that was not met. So, and it could be rather good or bad. I'm not finna pick and choose over here, but it can be rather good or bad. So now where anxiety fits in is, for me, focusing on, okay, I asked this question. The last time I asked this question, or I asked someone the question, I didn't get the right answer, or the answer wasn't right, or they was upset. And I don't want them to be upset. I don't want them to be upset because I don't want to feel the way that I felt. I don't want to feel the way that I felt because I got mad and angry. I don't want to get mad and angry because the last time I got mad and angry, I was mad and angry for about a month, and I held it. Not grudgingly, but just overthinking it. I'm overthinking it because I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to feel this way. Well, all that does is builds up this anxiety before you even ask the question, because now you're thinking of, or at least me, I'm thinking of what I did before and the outcome of it and the pain mainly that it caused. And the majority of the time, it's like, I'm a human being just like you. I don't know just like you. I'm trying to understand just like you. I'm trying to, get on and get views and get understanding just like you. However, you have some people who are greedy, some people who are mean, just plain mean, who have been anointed just to wake up every morning just to get on your nerve, who they were just highly anointed to get on your nerve, that was designed to get on your nerve. But let me tell you this, iron sharpens iron. Take that home for free. So in that whole result there, I hold on, I'm sorry, I was watching something. I've been watching this whole thing on Mount Everest. I don't know what it is. Ever since I've been taking these pills, there's new loves that I refound, I guess you can say it, where I probably push it in the back of my mind because I've been so focused on everything else. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I would develop these ways of avoidance. Okay, so here it is now, and that's, to me, part of anxiety is avoidance, because you want to avoid anxiety. You want to avoid feeling how you felt, because anyone who has anxiety they know it's not cool. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that if you have anxiety, you're going to have to take pills. There's some people who are just a little bit have a little bit more than others. Some people can dwell on some things. Maybe it might be a test. It might be a bill, an unexpected bill that came up that you said, I know I put that in there. I know I put that money down in there. Um, you may have said to yourself, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to make sure that there's money in the bank, and that's it. And if it does come up again, you would just say, I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to make sure there's money in the bank. That's it. However, a person with anxiety may dwell on that. No, seriously though, they may say, okay, I don't want this to happen again. It may even be a PTSD where they say, no, the last time that happened, I had to go and I had to go to the bank and I had to put money up in the bank. And then I remembered I didn't have that money up in there. And I was wondering where it went and where how could it went. I know I put the money in there. I know that I dealt with it again. It's basically looking a little bit like this is what happens when a person who has anxiety. I'll show you this exactly how it is with a person who has anxiety. This is how it is with a person who has anxiety. I know I put that in there. I know I had that money in there. I put the money in there, and I know there was that. What are you talking about? I did do it in there. Okay, so I left that up in there. Oh my goodness! Now they're gonna think that I'm a horrible person and I don't pay my bills on time. That's basically what's going on in a person's mind who has anxiety. And I mean, there are some severe cases. For those who have severe cases of anxiety, my heart goes out to you, and we are one of the same. However, I have just a moderate case. However, since I've been on the medication that I'm taking, it has been a blessing to me. And I haven't really had a lot of racing thoughts. The thoughts will come. Okay, the best way I can say is the thoughts will come, but it will be more like the thoughts will come, but instead of the thoughts staying there, the thoughts will be more like open wide area. I got all this in there instead of it being just this. Best way that I can put it. And so, um, to me, so far, what the pills have been doing, I know some people, I'm not going to focus on the cons because everything is different for everybody. And you have to give it time because, once again, everybody's body chemistry is different. Okay, Karen. So, but for me though, what I can say is that it has helped a lot with me being coherent, me speaking, listening actively, unless I'm focused on something else. I kid you not. I literally will be focused on something else and somebody can be speaking and I will not hear what they're saying because I would be focused on something else. And I'm just saying that because I was out with my breakfast with my mom and I had seen this couple, we were out eating and they had moved. And for some reason, I guess my mind must have triggered and remembered who they were. Which I can say one thing though, my memory, oh my goodness. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So I must have looked at them and asked my mom a question. I had to re-ask her what she said because I was focused on that couple. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But however, not a but however, with me though, it has really gained momentum for me to be more focused, more clear, be more coherent, being able to focus and listen. And I've noticed though, I was at work, there we go, and I had to write this down in my journal, which I'm gonna have to do when I get off of here. But I have to write down in my journal, and this was what maybe I'm gonna have to say Friday. I'm gonna go with Friday. I'm gonna say Friday, because it may have been Thursday, it may have been Friday. I'm trying to see. I'm going to say Friday. Let's do Friday. So it was Friday, and I just prayed, like, Lord God, I just pray that I can just do this and everything be good at work. And I got a call that was out of this world, and I felt myself shaking. So I noticed, even before I was taking the pills, when I get agitated or upset, I get, mainly that's anger that's building up. And I'm like, hold on a second, Bo. I'm trying to help you out. And you're coming at me ill correct. And so I breathed. I said what I had to say. And I repeated what it was that I said. Because I work in, let's just say, long story short, I work in customer service. And sometimes you have to repeat what you said to that person more than once. And to be more clear, in a call center, you have to repeat what you said more than once in 50 different ways. And then I tell you, the 50th time, you will say it like you said it the first time, exact. And then they'll tell you,
oh, I remember. You're right. Thank you.
so in that case, I felt myself getting upset and angry. I got off the phone with the person. I was still thinking about it. Now, the difference with that is I would have thought about that all day. And I would have had to been worried about if I said the right thing, if I did it right. But it was weird because when I get upset, I couldn't really, it's kind of like hitting a roof. You know, when I get to it, it's like I can't build it up. I can't get there and get excited, you know? And then I started thinking maybe that's why, well, as far as the whatever dysfunction, with that part, I have not experienced anything so much of that as I can say. I haven't even tried. I'm a Christian anyway, so I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got the Mary syndrome, and so I wasn't upset, but I did drift off and started thinking about what the last person has said, and to the queen. I did think about what the last person has said, and didn't want to say it affected me, but I would go back and say, okay, I know I did everything I was supposed to do and say, and I tried to help out, but I stopped. And what I'm noticing now is what I'm saying is that you're going to still have your old ways of how you used to go and cope. However, and there is a however, you will start to learn how to adapt and do it differently than what you normally do. And the best way I can explain is my old friend of mine had told me to do the exact opposite of what I would do. So in this case here, that's exactly what I'm doing. Is where I would harp over it, and I would just be like, "Oh my goodness, that was just horrible." And it took a while for me to get over it, but eventually I did. So it's just like a person who would normally have anxiety, who would have something would say to them and they would kind of blow them off and tick them off and you'd be upset. And you probably get anxious because, hey, I know I did what I had to do. Or you start thinking about maybe I messed up. Did I go over everything? Did I cross my T's and dotted my I's? And both be gone. In that case there, I mean, he was a little bit rude, but I told him, hey, I understand that how you're feeling right now, and I'm doing my best to try to come to a matter of this, to come to a solution for this matter, and or the situation, or however you want to put it. And spoke to them. I'm learning when I speak like that, okay, and I use those jargons. It does work out a little bit better and greater for my good. Another thing was there was a test I had to take for work, and I could not. I tried to pass it so much, and I mean, well, it wasn't so much of a study, but it was more like one of those guides, and I could not, for the life of me, pass it. And I remember going to bed and like, you know what? I'm not finna stress over this. I'm about to go to sleep and get me some rest and chillax. And so I did so, and next thing I know, I was asleep. And it's just hard to say something like this and people to be like, oh, really? Not if you have anxiety. Not if you suffer from anxiety. Not if you suffer from constant worrying of not being good enough. Okay, I'm just gonna say it like that. And the benefit of it is once I was taking since I've been taking these pills here, or this medication, I'm gonna say, is that it has really helped me to not think. And I would, and I mean think in a way of old stuff. I may have had an argument with someone and it may pop in my head like, I know I said what I said, and I know what they said was rude, or what I said was rude, and we'll go over it and 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 over it. But it was just like now it's not really that much for me to think or dwell on. Like I said, the best way that I can put it is if you really truly understand that when you are a constant warrior, that's the main thing that you mainly think about is that person and what they said, what they done, how you can do it better. If you cross paths again, what's going to happen? And people tell me all the time, why are you worrying about it? And I say, because I know that it was something I could have said, or they said, or it hurt me, or it affected me, or it's just a lot that's going on. What I could have said, what I should have said, what they said, what they didn't say, why did they say it, why didn't they say it? It's things of that nature, and I'm noticing that that's good for me. Um, Again, the thoughts will still come, but they won't be racing. So there's a difference between racing and just having regular thoughts. You'll be able to process. I've been able, I can't say you because everyone's different, but I've been able to process a whole lot different. I've been able to get up a whole lot more. I'm noticing that when I even read certain text messages and things like that, I don't really go too much into it. I know it sounds kind of like duh, but however, if you, again, are a constant warrior or have generalized anxiety generalized anxiety disorder, um, a lot of people can say that it's generalized, but um, it's different. That's all I can say. It's different. It is different. It's a normal person would get up and have anxious thoughts about getting prepared and going there, but once it's done, it's done. Not for a person who's a constant warrior. Not for a person who um, constantly thinks to the point where they can't sleep. I know there's some parts where you can't sleep because you probably have a child who's out and they haven't called you, and when they come home, that they're you're. But it's just like they never came home. And I'm not, don't mean to be that harsh or blunt, but that's just how it is with anxiety, is that you have this constantness that it's never going to come home, it's never going to work, it's something else could have been something else could have been something else. And yeah, I'm noticing though, I normally would do this with my fingers and stuff like that. um I'm noticing though a lot that when I speak to someone and I start to feel myself getting kind of rushed up, I would say to myself, breathe. And I can actually hear myself, which is crazy, you might think, but I can actually hear myself saying, breathe, calm down, relax. You're here. One thing that I can tell someone is do the 333 method. Is you name 3 sounds that you hear, then look around and see 3 things, and then name 3 parts of your body and do breathing exercises. Um, and if you're yeah, that's about it. I know that I am meeting with my therapist, which I can't wait, so I can get me a ESD dog, or what is it, an emotional ESA, emotional service, emotional dog. I don't know, but it's for emotional support dog. There we go, ESD, emotional support dog. That way I can have the dog in my um, apartment with me, and be able to be with that one there. And I believe that would help out a lot. Even thinking about it, it kind of raised up uh, my feelings a bit, because it does get lonely. And then you see what else can I put in there. That's mainly it though. I can want to say I think most of my anxiety did come from the fact that I was unable to have children, which is another story in itself. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comments below and we can talk about that. As I always say, because I'm going to wrap this thing up, as I always say, and always will say, that if you like what you see, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good gushy mushy stuff there. And let's build this community of mental health, mental wellness together. Mental health is mental wellness, so let's build this mental wellness, mental healthness together as one. And I know it's even deeper once we go into this COVID thing here and how it's just new variants and we want to get outside, but society is telling us, it's impossible in such a way. However, yeah, just always click comments below, get to know one another. So I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your ways of how you deal with generalized anxiety or how you just deal with anxiety, period. Have you ever had anxiety? Have you thought about wanting to seek medical treatment or going to get a therapeutic treatment for it? As in seeing a therapist. Have you seen a therapist? Have you been on any type of medication, such as antidepressants or any type of medication that helps you? What was your experience with it? People would like to know. It's good to know it. You have some people who exaggerate a bit. However, it's always good to know from someone and to match a voice with a face to see someone actually doing it, especially someone of this complexion. Because again, we don't really talk about that a lot because it's hush hush. And not just in this complexion, but in other um, race and societies and populations as well. But I just really want to let it be known that therapy is something that I believe everyone should go and seek for. I believe the world can benefit from it, and that the majority of the time it's just a lot of hurt people who's hurting people who are running away from their problems and putting it on everyone else. I can say this again, and I will always say this: don't be someone else's emotional toxic garbage dump. Okay, what happens to them is not going to happen to you. What affects them will affect you if you allow it. And remember that always. And in closing, I say this with saying that options are free, but you pay attention to advice. I am off on Mondays. This is C La Vie. And as always, remember mental health is mental wealth. Comment, click, subscribe, and I'll see you next jive. Out.